Okay, before jumping in, here is the token YouTuber scumbag merchandise plug. Do you want one of these? Loosely Red Dead 2 themed, so I don't get slammed with the copyright gavel and completely destroyed. Check out the link down below if you do want one. They are limited edition. Now on to the real substance. This video is not a mechanical guide per se, it's more of an analysis covering the two styles of potential gameplay. The first being outlaw savagery and general criminal behavior, and the second being good guy, stand-up citizen, and a general man of the people. Red Dead Redemption 2 perfectly embodies the desire for choice-based gaming in today's industry. You are given so many unique opportunities to enact your own moral judgment that it's honestly unbelievable. And with that plethora of choices, a lot of people have asked me to cover and analyze the two different playstyles. First up is the outlaw, the killer, and the bandit. This is in fact how I originally started my own playthrough. I set out with the intention of being ruthless, immoral, and greedy, as well as terrorizing every town I passed through. Side missions and all, every single choice would be for maximum profit, minimum goodwill, and in general I wanted to just live out the tale of a true 7 sins and all Wild West terror. At first I did just that, and for a while actually, but over time as more and more random encounters popped up, more missions went by, and I actually got to know characters and settings, that really began to change. The voice acting in Red Dead Redemption 2 is phenomenal, and the encounters are anything but generic. At one point I was riding along on my horse, and I regret not recording this actually, but as I came up to a lumber mill, I heard men shouting, and a tree started falling. The shouting was panic though, and it fell the wrong direction and ended up trapping a man's leg. I didn't even really have time to think, they just started yelling at me to come help them, and they all gathered around the tree. So I hopped off my horse and I walked over, where I seamlessly entered the group and I helped remove the tree. I didn't even realize it in the moment, but I had just done a really good deed and it actually increased my reputation. What are normally generic side encounters in open world games are transformed within Red Dead 2. They have become natural feeling decisions that are so well crafted they almost transcend the feeling of regular gaming choices. I made plenty of ruthless moves, don't get me wrong, I was pretty brutal at times, especially when I thought about it and I actually stuck to my original plan despite my first instincts, but some of them were so well made it actually made me feel uncomfortable. The one that comes to mind is ransacking this poor immigrant's home who barely spoke any English, if any at all, for a small loan debt, mind you, that I did not need in the slightest. If you can't pay it back, don't borrow money. Yeah, sure, that's the motto. But the whole scene made me physically uncomfortable, so much so, in fact, it again transcended basic video game narrative, and though I was uncomfortable, it added to the whole experience in a fantastic way. As I went town to town, sometimes ruthlessly pillaging in the outskirts or stealing and holding up travelers, I realized that I was amassing a veritable cornucopia of treasure. And another side encounter comes to mind, and a tiny spoiler, but it's not the main story, so I feel like it's not so bad. I came across a skinny old man who was sifting for gold, or panning for gold in a river. It didn't really register as a side encounter, and he kept saying how bad his luck was, and he was singing as he sifted and sifted and sifted some more. And as I was leaving, I had finally gotten bored, and I decided whatever it was a waste of time. He, right then at that moment, struck gold. Since gold is extremely valuable in Red Dead 2, I perked up real fast, obviously. He was holding this big shiny rock, and I decided to rob him. I pulled out my gun, I tried to do that in a peaceful way, but he pulled his, and we ended up fighting, and he was dead, and the gold was in my pocket. This was just yet another tiny little side encounter where I could perfectly embody the role I had decided to play. But it was so well done, I actually felt guilty for doing so. It's up to the individual how far they go and when, or even if, they start feeling guilty about it, but as a true outlaw, you can pillage and amass a hoard of treasures, rest assured. As the game progressed though, over time, I started to find that more and more, my honor level had started to creep upwards. Not even consciously, but as decision after decision rolled in, each with even more well-crafted narrative points than the last, I just started gravitating towards the options where less people got hurt, where more people were happy, and where I could rest easy with a clean conscience, if you will. When I went to shops, I did have far less loot to unload while I was being a stand-up citizen. There were less belt buckles, less gold, but at the same time, I felt more confident and comfortable in more towns and across the map as a whole. I won't dive into specifics because some of the ones I am thinking of are major spoilers, but I had many instances of life or death decisions that resulted in positive emotional gratification. In addition to that, as I left more and more NPCs alive, they said more and more interesting things. I even started to find that some of them had little tasks for me, or even if I had mercy, they would lead me to more loot in specific missions, secret stashes of gold, or give me treasure maps, or things like that. In the end, it was far more work to gather the rewards, but it helped compensate for the lack of constant corpse looting and robbery. Now, I have yet to unlock enough material to do a dedicated romance video, but needless to say, your moral standing affects your possible relationships. No spoilers here, but one of the characters I was most interested in almost certainly would not have been available if I had continued down the total crime pathway. But who knows, maybe down that road I would have found the ultimate bandit queen. That's a possible option too. On the one hand, you earn far more money from a true criminal playthrough, you see much more gunplay, and subsequently certain stats level up significantly faster and higher. If you are constantly in combat, your health stat rises a lot quicker than if you are a good Samaritan, so you reach the later acts of the game as sort of a hardened tank of a man. But with all of those high-profile skirmishes, you are constantly netting a bounty in a lot of regions. That bounty can slow down your main story progression, and it makes it inconvenient to travel around, which hinders your hunting, your legendary animal quests, and much, much more. Not to mention costing a decent chunk of change to clear those bounties. If you stick to the moral high ground path, however, you see less combat. You will end up as a character with less fortitude, but you will be free to traverse the map in a much easier way. And with that, you can truly enjoy the scenery. More opportunities seem open to you and objectives are smoother. You earn less money, but a lot of that is recouped by avoiding bounty penalties and the overall generosity of grateful citizens. As a true criminal, I might add that you are constantly fighting lawmen and bounty hunters that will come after you regardless of where you are. They will seek you out, so that can really cut down on your ability to enjoy just the ambient atmosphere of Red Dead 2, and it is so well crafted that I would highly advise, even if you are a true criminal, sometimes don't get that bounty up sky high because you just want to enjoy the various, elements of the atmosphere and the scenery and the landscape and all of it. This is far from an overall review. I have yet to do my version of that, but it's hard not to mention the craftsmanship behind Red Dead 2. A world this meticulously constructed to reward both good and bad decisions while perfectly balancing the appeal of both playstyles for unique reasons. That's kind of unbelievable. There was a lot of outrage regarding some of the brutal practices that Rockstar employed to finish Red Dead 2 by working their employees to the bone, essentially. And I would never justify real-life employment immorality, but this game is a testament to what can be achieved with hard work, and the highest possible praise goes to each and every single developer who took part in this masterpiece. If you are a player who has an appetite for brutality, then Red Dead Redemption 2 has got it in spades. You will have a fantastic campaign ahead of you with more action than most games dream of. Likewise, if you are a stand-up citizen with a tendency towards protecting the lives and the rights of others, you can carve a path through the countryside, righting wrongs and hunting down wanted criminals. You can clean up the cities and embody the quintessential Western lawman. Aside from a few missions where things get a little bit out of hand, but again, no spoilers. I don't think I can wrap up this video with a definitive statement of one style being better than another, and that is such a wonderful thing. There are absolutely certain tidbits of content that are exclusive to one playstyle or the other one, or criminal or lawman, and it's perfectly reasonable for many gamers to execute 2 playthroughs, I think. But if you condense it down to one, my advice is to go with the flow. Don't commit to one side or the other prematurely, because you never know what side mission will pop up, what an NPC will say to you on the street, or which character you will meet and you'll want to kill them or help them, or any number of other decisions. Let the story shape around you on a minute-to-minute basis, and it will contribute even more to the depth of the game. And in a gaming industry where true depth, real true depth, is in short supply, it deserves to be appreciated here. There's not a whole lot more to say on the subject, but one last thing. I am really curious to hear about all the different experiences that you have all had who are watching this right now in the comments down below. And not the generic, like, give me your feedback, quote-unquote stuff that every single YouTuber always says, including me, but legitimately. Red Dead 2 is so large, I doubt I will ever fully complete every single thing it has to offer. And even if I do, it won't be for a very long time. So I want to hear about the cool moments and the side encounters and the romances and the other things that you guys have already already had and experienced in your playthroughs where you made different choices than me. With all of that though comes a big warning. Because of this feedback, the comments may contain spoilers. Only read them if you are okay with that. But mostly, personally, I'm fine with it, so I'll be reading all the comments on this particular video. That's going to wrap it up. We can wind down with another completely greedy merchandise plug. This is the Red Dead Outlaw shirt, which is available on a bunch of different pieces of apparel for a limited time. The link is in the description down below if you want to grab one, so check that out. There are other links down below as well. There's a Facebook community, a Discord server, our own gaming forums, where we welcome everyone watching this to join in the discussion, truly talk about any game, any concept, just join us on the forums. And there's also a Twitch link. I originally planned to stream Red Dead 2 non-stop, like all the time, but honestly, it's much more of an immersive personal adventure than I thought it would be. And also, I have not been in the greatest of headspaces the past few days. I sort of got ghosted. So as a result, I've kind of neglected the streams, but I'll be back to it eventually. As always, thank you for watching. Drop the feedback down below and have a nice night.